The first wall. Everyone hits it. Everyone reaches that point where your excitement fades, the motivation drops, and the work suddenly feels heavier than it did a week ago. That's what this episode is about. The first wall you hit when you're rebuilding yourself. Because it doesn't matter how strong your start was. It doesn't matter how motivated you felt. It doesn't matter how clear your goals were. At some point, you hit that wall. And when you hit it, everything in you wants to slow down. Everything in you wants to take a step back. Everything in you starts whispering, maybe this is enough. Maybe you don't need to push today. And that's the moment where the journey actually begins. Over the last few weeks, I felt that wall creeping in, not in a dramatic way, not in a breakdown way, just in that quiet, subtle way where things start feeling harder than they should. You wake up a bit more tired. You question whether the walk is worth it today. You start thinking about taking a day off, and then another, and then another. And that's the danger of the first wall. It doesn't hit you like a crash. It sneaks up on you without you realising. It shows up in the small decisions, a tiny hesitation, the moment where you choose comfort over progress. And if you're not careful, that becomes the place where you stop. But here's the truth I've had to remind myself of. The first wall isn't a sign to stop. It's a sign you're moving forward. You don't hit walls when you're standing still. You hit walls when you're pushing into new territory. You hit walls when you're growing. You hit walls when you're changing. The wall is a proof you're doing some of the work, the good work. And when you hit it, you've got two choices. You can take a step back, or you can push through. And pushing through doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean smashing every goal. It doesn't mean pretending everything's easy. Pushing through just means showing up, even when you don't feel like it. Even when your head is not fully with it or there. Even when the motivation isn't loud anymore. Because discipline is built in the quiet moments. The moment when no one sees. The moments where you're not inspired. The moments where you're not excited. The first wall is where discipline takes over from motivation. For me, the first wall usually shows up right after a good run of progress. You start feeling good about yourself. More relaxed. You start feeling like you're getting somewhere. And then suddenly you hit this resistance. And that's exactly where I am right now. Not stuck, not lost. Just stay facing the first wall of Series 2. And instead of stepping back, I'm choosing to push through it. Not perfectly, not dramatically, just consistently. One walk at a time, one decision at a time, one small win at a time. Because once you push through the first wall, everything comes clearer. Everything gets steadier. Everything gets stronger. The wall isn't the end. It's the beginning of the real work. So if you're watching this and you've hit your first wall, don't panic. Don't beat yourself up. Don't think you failed. You haven't failed. You've just reached the point where most people stop. And you're not most people. Take a breath, reset, and push through. Because on the other side of the wall, the first wall, is the version of you you've been trying to reach. So keep going. The wall is part of the journey, and you're stronger than you think. The mindset work happens here, but the hard work happens in my series, Mind Over Mountain. Head over and have a look.